Hey, what's up tech lovers? How are you all doing? I hope everything's great. Welcome to this new video on the channel where we're going to check out the new release from POCO, a phone with premium features at a very affordable price featuring a 1.5K display, a 50 megapixel Sony camera, and fully immersive stereo sound with Dolby Atmos. It might just be the phone that can compete with the big names on the market and meet your expectations. If you want an affordable, powerful phone that also has that premium touch. So let's get to know it. Join me here on TechGround. A bit of context about POCO, which is Xiaomi's young and dynamic brand created to offer powerful phones at affordable prices. And since the legendary POCO phone F1, they've been raising the bar every year, and now with this POCO F7, they want to be a benchmark again for those of you looking for the best without breaking the bank. And I encourage you to leave a like and subscribe if you enjoy this content, and of course turn on notifications because here we always review the latest and greatest in technology. So without further ado, let's get to the unboxing so you can see what's inside the box. The outer box is black with yellow letters, and when you open it, the inner box is yellow with the logo in the middle in black. On top, there's the gray silicone case for the phone, and underneath, we find the POCO F7 well protected, a 90-watt charger, thanks POCO for including it, and a USB-C cable. And also in the little envelope, there was the subscriber identity module ejector pin, and of course the warranty papers and the safety guide. Well, now out of its box. The first thing it gives us is a sense of quality, of good construction, this POCO F7. And let's first talk about its dimensions. 163.1 millimeters in height by 77.9 millimeters in width with a thickness of 8.2 millimeters. It has a fairly light weight of 215 grams and it's built with Corning Gorilla Glass 7i on the front and back and a computer numerical control aluminum frame. And it would be available in this black color, in white, and also in silver. Honestly, I've seen the silver one and it's very, very attractive. On the back, what do we have? Well, this design is divided in two with a diagonal shape, a glossy black part on the bottom and a kind of matte part on the top. Protected, as I said, by this glass, which honestly picks up a lot of fingerprints, I have to say. And at the top left, we have the camera module, also divided in two, where we have the main camera on top and the wide-angle camera on the bottom. It has this shape that really reminds me of a guitar pick split in two, and two lines in the center, kind of greenish in color and shiny, that separate both cameras. And of course, a vertical module where we find the flashlight, which by the way is quite bright. This flash is pretty powerful. And that's it regarding construction. Ingress protection, 68 certification, which will give us resistance to dust and water. It can even be submerged up to 1.5 meters for half an hour according to the manufacturer. Of course, always be careful in still water that doesn't have currents or changing pressures, absolutely. Fingerprint sensor underneath, important screen, stereo speaker at the top and bottom. The top stereo speaker is embedded within the earpiece where we receive calls. And of course, it doesn't have a headphone jack, so we'll have to use USB-C for that. But it is true that it has infrared at the top, so we can control our television, our air conditioner, or any type of device that uses this technology. Slot for 2 subscriber identity module cards, but no slot for microSD. That's right, if we need storage, we either rely on the internal one or we'll have to get it in the cloud. Flat edges along its sides, as I mentioned above, just the infrared on the right side. Volume up and down buttons, lock and unlock, and at the bottom, main speaker, USB-C, microphone, and slot for the subscriber identity module trays. As I was saying, it feels very premium, nothing like cheap plastic. You can tell it's very well built and they've really paid attention to the details. Now let's get to the important part, the technical specifications and how does all this translate into everyday use. First, the brain of the device. The processor in this F7 is the new Snapdragon 8. It's generation 4, manufactured in 4 nanometers by Taiwan Semiconductor Manufacturing Company, one of the most advanced architectures on the market. This processor is really designed to offer high-end performance, let's say, but also with pretty good energy efficiency, which means less heat and more battery life, and we'll talk about that now because the battery it comes with is pure gold. It has a Cortex X4 core running at 3.21 GHz, 3 Cortex A720 cores at 3.0 GHz, and 4 Cortex A720 cores at 2.8 and 2.0 GHz. In practice, you'll be able to demand anything from it: games, video editing, multitasking, and the phone itself. It's gonna respond, honestly, always pretty fast and very smoothly. It also has the ISLOB dual channel 3-dimensional system, which is a 6,000 square millimeter system to prevent this device from overheating, especially when we work a lot with it, and of course to improve thermal conductivity, so your hands don't burn when you're playing a game of PUBG, some Free Fire, or whatever you want to play. Or working while watching a movie. Well, that's really good that it includes that. Let's move on to the graphics part, and it comes with the Adreno 825, which is 49% more powerful than the previous generation. And I've tried games like PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds Mobile, Asphalt Legends, and that typical Marvel fighting game. And honestly, they run great with graphics set to the maximum, no lag, no overheating, and with a gaming experience, as they say, super smooth. With a frame rate that you can see reaching 80 to 90 frames per second very easily. And as I was saying, you can tell the cooling system is working because the device gets warm, especially in this area here where the microprocessor is located. But it works really well, and it's not an excessive amount of heat either. And well, let's talk now about another fundamental pillar of any smartphone, which is how it feels in your hands, the agility with which this phone operates. With its 12 GB of low power double data rate, 5x RAM expandable up to 18 GB thanks to virtual memory, as long as we have enough space. So you can have dozens of apps open and switch between them without noticing any strange lag. No freezing, no crashing of the device. Storage, universal flash storage, 4.1 storage, which is super fast for apps and games. The truth is, you keep changing. They open in a flash, and it's a system that always makes everything much faster, especially when it comes to multitasking. Now let's talk about something very important, which is the screen. It's a 6.83-inch active matrix organic light emitting diode display, 1.5K resolution, 448 pixels per inch. Very high density, and with the POCO F7 they've managed to reduce the bezel thickness to 1.9 millimeters. It offers us 68 million colors, covers 100% of the digital cinema initiatives, protocol, 3 gamut with Dolby Vision and high dynamic range, 10+. It has 94.23% screen-to-body ratio and works at a rate of 120 Hz. Gentlemen, this is truly insane. It offers us a brightness of 3200 nits with the capability they usually call sunlight display, 4.0. What this means is that when we're under the sun, we'll still be able to see vivid colors and deep blacks. And the automatic brightness adjusts with more than 16,000 levels. Honestly, it's an amazing screen, really smooth for browsing and gaming. It also has 3840 Hz pulse width modulation dimming, which will let us spend hours in front of the phone and take care of our eyes. And besides, it has a 2.0 anti-moisture touchscreen, which will let us use the phone with wet hands or if it gets splashed. The usual thing where you put your finger on it and it goes crazy, with this phone that's not going to happen. Another one of the really important features. We've already talked about the processor, how it's built, and its screen. But let's not forget about the sound, which is one of the important parts when it comes to having a complete experience. We all know that watching a movie without good sound, or having good sound but not good graphics, completely throws off our experience. Well then, it has dual stereo speakers, one at the bottom, as I mentioned, embedded in the frame, and another in the earpiece, where we receive calls, which is what gives us stereo sound. And besides, it also has Dolby Atmos to give you a fully immersive sound. And honestly, it sounds really good. It's very clear and it's powerful. I mean, maybe it's not the most powerful phone I've ever heard, but the quality is infinitely better than most high-end phones on the market. I'm going to leave a test here so you can see that it reached peaks of up to 95, 96 decibels. And well, I'll let you listen to it yourselves. Well, the test was done with a directional shotgun microphone. For a real experience, you'll have to hold it in your hands. As is always logical, when you listen to a phone, you hold it like this to listen to it. And I'm telling you honestly, this sound from the POCO F7 doesn't leave anyone indifferent. Now let's move on to another main feature, necessary and important to complete the circle of this phone. We have one left for the end, the battery. But let's talk about the cameras, which is also a very strong, very critical point that this POCO F7 has. The main camera is 50 megapixels, Sony IMX882 with an aperture of f1.5 and optical stabilization. And it also has an 8 megapixel ultra-wide camera, and the selfie camera is 20 megapixels. This translates into night photos with little noise, portraits with good blur, and video in 4K at 60 frames per second. What we're going to get with electronic stabilization is a sense of smoothness in our videos. And also, the app includes advanced modes with artificial intelligence like portrait, night mode, bursts, and motion capture. Of course, I'm going to show you some tests I've done in different scenarios, indoors, outdoors, day, and night. So you can see for yourselves the results from this camera, which honestly is very decent and quite good. Front camera of this POCO F7 at 1080p, 30 frames per second, arm fully extended, and look, it stabilizes really well. Let's stand here and see how the shadows work. Take a look. Now facing the light, upwards, downwards, and now against the light, so you can see the change in lighting. Well, it seems pretty good. Front camera of this POCO F7. Daytime conditions, we're outdoors, arm fully extended, so you can see how it stabilizes. We're switching to the shade now, so you can see the change in lighting between shade and now. The sun, let's put ourselves against the light. Alright, daytime conditions indoors at 4060 frames per second on this POCO F7 rear camera with 50 megapixels. Let's see how it works, the changes in lighting. Notice how it stabilizes. Let's also get a bit closer to see the focus, how it works. It seems that the autofocus responds very well. Let's zoom in a bit on these letters. We have a zoom of 2 right now and a zoom of 6 with the rear camera now. Conditions also set to 4K at 60 frames per second. Now I'm walking while recording. I'm gonna zoom in a bit up here on the leaves so you can see. 6 times we zoom out, we zoom in again now. 6 times there. Well, it seems that the zoom respects the grain quite a bit. As you can see, we zoom in to see in detail. And this is also a test of the macro camera of the 0.6, which has a bit less resolution. But anyway, so you can also see how this camera synthesizes the image. Front camera of this POCO F7 with night settings. I'm out of any light. I'm gonna get a little closer to a street light so you can see how it looks. Look, here it's already recovering the light. It seems to look pretty good. The stabilization is very good. I'm going to stand against the light so you can also see a bit how the lights work. This front camera, and well, in short, a camera that seems to have very good results. Rear camera of this POCO F7. Night conditions. We're at 4060 frames per second. I'm walking and take a look at the stabilization it has. This is how it looks. This is how it sounds. I'm going to zoom in a bit on the highlights to see how it handles them. It seems to respond quite well. The truth is that it's truly amazing. And well, you've probably noticed that the stabilization is incredibly good. The shooting modes. Yes, it's true that we don't have a telephoto lens, which is something I would miss. We also don't have a slow motion camera. As a photographer, it's something that I do require a phone to have, at least those couple of features, a little extra. But overall, it's very acceptable. We're talking about a phone that's not overpriced, but offers very good resolution and very good capture and light transformation. Now let's talk about the battery. The battery is 6,500 milliamp hours with a fast charge of 90 watts. In practice, this will give us about a day and a half of intensive use, no problem. I've charged it twice. I've charged it twice since I got it. I've been using it for almost a week, and honestly, the battery works really well. In half an hour, we'll have about 80% charged, and you'll also be able to charge other devices. It has reverse charging of up to 22.5 watts. Alright, let's talk about connectivity. It comes with 5G Wi-Fi 7, Bluetooth 6.0 near-field communication infrared, USB-C 2.0, and on the go. Stereo speakers, as I mentioned before, under display fingerprint sensor, and HyperOS 2.0 based on Android 15, which will certify us. 4 years of system updates and 6 security patches. Artificial intelligence features like Gemini, Circle to Search, iNotes, iInterpreter, iImage, and well, it will translate for us, it will be able to transcribe, it comes loaded with artificial intelligence. As you would expect, given the times we're in, let me give you a quick summary of this F7 Snapdragon 8. S Generation 4, active matrix organic light emitting diode display with 1500 nits, 6.83 inches, 120 Hz, 6500 milliamp hour battery, 90 watt charging, and a 50 megapixel Sony camera with ingress protection certification. 68, dual subscriber identity module slot without micro SD, but it does have 12 GB of RAM expandable to 18 GB and USB full speed storage. 4.1, the price? 399 euros for the version with 12 GB of RAM and 256 GB of internal storage. And will go up to 459 euros for this version, the one with 12 GB of expandable RAM and 512 of internal storage. The perfect balance between power, display, and battery life if you're looking for a more complete phone for less than 400 euros. Is it hard to find a rival for this POCO F7? Honestly, I think it's a really good option. It's a mid-high range phone that has a pretty good balance when it comes to all its components. And after all, it has really good technology, good graphics, and of course it takes good photos. So its strong points are flagship level performance, an amazing display, a huge battery, and super fast charging with premium materials and ingress protection, 68 resistance, an ecosystem covered with artificial intelligence, and guaranteed updates. Weak points we could highlight are that it doesn't have a telephoto lens or a dedicated macro and no wireless charging. I've done that too. It's missing something heavy, it's 215 grams, it's not the 180 or 160 of the lighter phones. But anyway, would you buy it or do you prefer another model? Let me know in the comments, subscribe and share the video, and as always, thanks for being there. That's all about this POCO F7. See you in the next TechGrand video. See you soon.